We're back with another episode of Where's the Poetry. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. It helps to keep us growing as we continue to bring this unique content, diving into some of Trinidad and Tobago's best. And today we have a unique one. I've received a lot of music, some of the music not really mainstream, but something about this one stood out to me due to the overall artistic effort poured into it. Where's the Poetry in Trials by Keemfazo, and the video produced by Keemfazo, known as Dory Pro. Let me get into it.
You're not going to criminal.
Now, I thought it was vital in this particular case to identify Thorpe, the director, as a significant contributor to the literature that we are about to examine here. And as we go along, we'll establish why certain elements of the video contributed to the argument being produced. Before any of Keemfazo's lines, the video goes through a montage that looks like police arrests, audio clips of citizens thinking that they're being taken advantage of, they're responding to police brutality and apparent injustice. In one clip, a lady ironically calls for someone to call the real police, and that's a kind of very heart-wrenching thing, and it shows the sort of disillusionment with the situation. Additionally, there are a number of local voices, including now deceased former Jamaat al-Muslimin leader Yassin Abu Bakr. I think there's a clip from Vice News. Our Minister of Homeland Security Roger Alexander and lecturer and scholar David Mohammed. They touch on a range of issues, including suppression of blacks through scapegoating. They talk about social inequalities, the drug trade, the big fish, and how they relate to the smaller man, the ghetto youth. Then we hear Keemfazo for the first time. The song starts with the lines. In the ghetto, nobody fi come save us. Somehow we have push drugs, figure save up. Right? And that couplet there highlights what many will consider an excuse for involvement in criminal activity. But by the time you look at the prelude that Dory so artistically put together, you could almost find justification in people choosing illegal activity. Oh God! There's no excuse for that, right? But the director already swamped us with images of oppression. No hope for recourse. At the start, the literature conveying an argument that will require for you to at least have some sympathy towards the plight of the ghetto youth, to Keemfazo's persona that he created here. The director solidifies the opening argument by immediately inserting some lines from the somewhat polarizing American modern-day philosopher, self-proclaimed Pan-Africanist, I think he is for the most part, Dr. Umar. Umar's lines give further development to the opening couplet by explaining how the ghetto youth has been marginalized. They have no other choice to engage in what they are about to do because of the situation. He is saying here, you are not born a criminal. Criminals are made by the society, and the mother of all crime is miseducation. That is an important thing to note. And the father of all crime is economic castration. If you don't give them a decent education and you don't give them a job, it's a criminal in waiting. That is what Dr. Umar says at the beginning of the song. Right? And if you want to create a strong perspective in your literature, you'll want to build an argument to solidify your point. And now we have to use symbols, characters, metaphors, and that is what really makes a piece poetic, as opposed to if you don't have all these things. So I think the video complemented what Keemfazo is doing in a very significant way. So let's look at Keemfazo's persona. It starts, bust the shackles, we know another. I was excited because I read this first before I looked at it, and my first thought was that, hey, this man going to overcome the crime, the shackles will be symbolic of all the oppressive elements that poor black people face, and he say he not into that. But 3 lines later he say don't feel safe on the road, that's why I need a strap. He don't need no strap, he have his own one. A strap, of course, a nickname or metaphor for a gun. Now I dey wondering what he mean when he say he not into that. And that is the main thing we're going to be looking for in this song. Now, we already understand that the foundation set at the start of the video may have been to give us some sort of credence, understanding to the persona's chosen direction. But we want to know to what end. The chorus continues with a powerful contrast to explain how ambitious he is. compared to his peers. He's saying, them what the chain, me what the only shop. And even before that, he outlined that if money is not the topic of conversation, he don't even want to talk. And that is funny in a kind of way, but it is hyperbole to further illustrate his ambition. So we have an ambitious youth. So let's go into the first verse. It starts with the persona stating his desire for his money to be on a cycle. Justified by the line, me spend it out tomorrow, me have to get it back. To me, this speaks of somebody working honest work to get back their money. It is possible that his dreams of endless money is to erase his cycle of endlessly being on the streets. He say he want to leave the streets, but he keep coming back, And that coming back line allows him to segue into his childhood or adolescence. It's a sharp kind of change in the trend of thought, and I think that is one of the weaknesses of local dancehall, where it could kind of come off as a rambling due to the sharp shifts in the thought. I might have put that, the whole childhood reminiscing, in a new stanza. Anyway, I think the persona is reminiscing, and let's see what his childhood reveals. Remember, we're looking for a means to the end of this violence. One of his early claims or memories is that he and his friends were grimy, but they never lacked. And that may be a bit of an oxymoron depending on which social class you're looking at it from. The word grimy is usually applied to a ghetto youth who is engaged in violent activities. The upper class may have the general expectation that grimy people, they're poor and they're suffering, and sometimes that is the case. So it may be an oxymoron if you're listening to it with the ears of a higher class. But in this case, the persona correlates the two. Plentifulness, or at least necessity, is covered under the griminess. The grimy folks have some sort of possession, and more evidence of this is seen when he says they go kill you if you run off with the Jenna pack. What or who is the Jenna? Jenna is like a young community leader, or maybe it could refer to older leaders as well, but they had things, and if you run off with his possessions, be it a stash, his weapons, his drugs, whatever it was, your life at risk. But it establishes the point that there's some sort of wealth that exists in the ghetto, albeit due to criminal activities. The wealth is tied to criminal activities, unless it's plum chow they're selling. And I highly doubt that. So as the persona reminiscing, he also seems to hold the memory of somebody who used to share the one pot with them. That person died. And the one, the riches, symbolized by the Benz with the push start, an obvious symbol of riches. So the song goes into the chorus again, which continues misleading me. Bust the shackles, we not enter that. This time he add ropes. Cut all the ropes that hold we down. Alright, if you're cutting the ropes that hold you down, then this next stanza should obviously lead to, hey, this man is going to be educated. I think in the story going to overcoming. But it doesn't. At least not in the way we might want him to overcome as watching it from the outside and saying, yeah, we see this youth rise. So to me, there's some sort of irony that exists there because they don't overcome in the way we expect them to. So we continue digging for the end. If there's any, does the violence lead to something? That is the question we're asking. Does this breaking of the chain refer to relieving yourself of the cycle of violence? We also hear Matara French's viral clip somewhere inside of there. She's talking about her frustration and unhappiness fighting poverty for so long. But do we get a different choice by the narrator? So far, no. So let me dive into verse 2. And verse 2 starts off very concerning. It says, till the day me leave earth, yeah, you know me stay real, and me not gonna switch on the G them. This is really not a good sign, because here we have a lifelong commitment to what seems to be the badness. He has a nice cheeky line inside of there where he says, me fail my class in spelling one time because me don't know how to spell pretend. I think that's very funny. It's hyperbole again that reveals his truth, which is he is real, and he also prays that his friends stay real as well. But that realness seems to be very tied to this criminal activity and the drug selling. He returns to the idea of removing shackles and chains and ropes and bondage. And this time, for once, we get a glimmer of hope, or at least we get a reminder of it. Where it says, that same line that he started off with, in the ghetto nobody come save us. So some of we push drugs, we go save up. So it's up to you as the reader now to say, all right, that save up is a possibility that, yeah, they're going to save up to come out the ghetto and live a better lifestyle. However, we always talk about evidence, and the rest of the literature, there isn't any evidence to justify that, all right, I'll save up and move myself. The director then inserts Dr. Umar, whose argument centers around how you could blame the youths for selling crack. So we have Keemfazo's narrator's choice to engage in a criminal lifestyle, and we have Thorpe's artistic justification of all of it through the storytelling in the video, the song bites, etc. And it is a fair argument. It's a fair argument, but there's a flaw in that Busty Shackles line, because I'm asking myself again and again and again, what shackles? The song, well, the video itself ends with some audio about trapping black people by allowing them to fight each other. So what chain was broken by the persona by the end of the song? And even when we see him dropping the handcuffs at the end of the song, he actually did quite the opposite. He stayed chained to the lifestyle in a sort of way, because there's no overcoming. And yes, we could feel for the narrator and the choices that he made, etc. But it's contradictory in some kind of way. That's a 7.5 out of 10 on the poetry scale. There's the poetry in Trials by Keemfazo, directed by Cohen Thorpe.